Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Are you all just as excited as I am? We are in Exodus. We are no longer in that really hard book of the Bible. There will be other books of the Bible that are hard. I don't think there is not a book that is equally as depressing and as a downer as Job, the book of Job is. However, there will be hard things for us to understand. So just be prepared. But we got through the really hard part. And we're on to what is happening with God's people. We have to remember where we left them last. We left them, Joseph had died. And now there's a new Pharaoh in town. The old Pharaoh favored Joseph. He favored Joseph's family. And the family now, Joseph is gone. And probably all the brothers are. We don't know exactly when they passed. But now we have this situation where we have a new Pharaoh in town. And he doesn't remember anything about Joseph and all the good Joseph did. And he is bringing down the hammer on God's people. And you read. He's vicious and a tyrant. And God sees his people in suffering. And he is ready to send a rescue for them, right? So we're introduced to Moses, a new person in our study. We haven't seen him yet. We get to see his birth. We get to see a little bit of his life. And we get to see a huge mistake. I call it a failure. That's the F word, is the failure. Not all failure is sin. In this case, failure is sin because it's murder. And he's taken the life of an Egyptian guard. Most of us, Moses has taken the life of an Egyptian guard and has fled away. And what I find interesting, I'm going to get back to the lesson here in just a second about failure. What I find interesting here in studying Moses is that we don't see a deep abiding relationship between God and Moses. We just know that God chose him. And God chose him in spite of the fact that he murdered someone. And most of us have problems. I don't know too many people that want to, bring up their failures and roll around in them. No, we don't know that. We know failure is, we remember the big red markers, big pens on our papers when we did not pass the algebra test. We wrote that great composition on Abraham Lincoln, and it was red F or red D. It wasn't the A we were expecting. That's what we think of when we think those are minor Fs, minor failures. But there's a lot of professional failure. There's a lot of personal failure. There's a lot of financial failure. And if we aren't careful in dealing with the failure in a spiritually appropriate way, failure can grip us and can start directing us and defining us. And you can see between the conversation with Moses and God that he was still dealing with that. you kind of have to read between the lines here. And I don't mean add anything to the word. I just mean read between the lines here. This is a man who's murdered someone. He's fled for 40 years. He's been gone. And he's 80 years old now. And God's talking to him. And he doesn't even bring up his sin. He doesn't even bring it up. But here's the thing. We bring it up. We bring it up in our own minds. We bring it up in our own lives. And if we aren't careful, that failure will define and direct us. And basically we have two, excuse me, I'm going to get a tissue. Basically, we have two responses to failure. Really only one, because eventually we will do number two. But we can flee from it. And fleeing from it might be anything from denying it to not correcting it or not making it right. There's a couple responses there, but basically we're not dealing with it. We're fleeing away from it. Or we can face it. And here's the thing. We're going to eventually face it. If we ever want to move forward in our relationship with the Lord and our relationship with other people, because when we fail, sometimes it involves other people. If we don't face it, if we're fleeing from it, we will eventually have to face it if we want to move forward. If we want to move past the failure and we want to advance in our relationship with Christ and in our relationship with other people, we're going to have to eventually face our failure and the aftermath that came with it. But this is what I learn as I peek into Moses' life in this first day, and you'll see this as we progress through his life, is that we can trust God with our failure. We can trust God to work our failure out in our favor. In other words, for our good, for our favor, and for his glory. But we have to trust him with it. It's not anything he doesn't already know. But what we have to do is trust him with our knowledge of it. We can't, just don't deny it anymore. Own up to it and say, God, I didn't mean for this to happen, or this happened and I caused it and I need direction, or this happened to me and I'm hurting and I have totally just walked away from the opportunity to make this right because I've been hurt, and I need you to help me through this. And he will. And if we don't eventually face it, we are not going to move forward in our relationship with Christ and our relationship with other people. It's just not going to happen. We can't let anything stand in between or be in between our relationship with the Lord. And failure eventually takes root. And it manifests itself in other ways. In jealousy and envy and passive-aggressive behavior towards the people that may have caused it or the people that may have been involved in it. It shapes us in ways that we don't even realize until one day it's right in front of our face and we realize, oh my goodness, look at this mess that I have, that in the wake of what has happened to me, I should have dealt with this. Trust God with that failure. Trust him to work it out in your favor and for his glory. Our failure is only going to hurt and hinder our relationship with the Lord if we let it go. It's just, if we let it continue, it's only going to hurt and hinder. As I said, not only our relationship with God, but also our relationship with other people. And our view of ourselves, our chutzpah, our inner self telling us, you can do this and move forward and let's try this. We'll be listening to the voice of failure for years to come. I've done that. I've done that. I've listened to the voice of failure because I failed so many times. I listened to the voice of failure and it held me back. And when it held me back from learning lessons that I needed to learn, from being around people that could help me in my pursuit of goals that I had previously failed in. And it does nothing but hurt us when we don't trust God to work our failure out in our favor. It only hurts us. And we're going to see Moses trust God. We're going to see him eventually get his leader legs, and they're strong legs. The nation of Israel stands on those legs. Yes, he eventually does move past this. And he does face some other failures, but God is right there with him every time, just like he will be with you and just like he will be with me. So let's not let the F word trip us up and hold us back from the best that is yet to come. We'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.